Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, then a big huge welcome to you. Is that an aeroplane? Yeah, there's an aeroplane. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, then a big huge welcome to you. Today's video is going to be a response video, but in a female point of view, and it is another autism related video, but it's something that came up at the last minute, and I did ask permission to film this, which has been granted, but this is something that I really wanted to do beforehand, and now I have been given the chance to do that. So the video I'm going to be responding to is Andy's video from Tuesday, and Andy has posted up a video about how to tell children they are on the autistic spectrum. So if you want to have a look at the video, I will put it up in a little card somewhere in the description box below, and also I will put it on my end screen as well. Today it's going to be focusing on how I was told I was autistic, but not in the way that some people think I was told. And how I was told was something that it was told not in a home setting, but somewhere else. And to be honest, my parents really didn't tell me that I was autistic, but some other people did. But I'll explain from the very beginning, and this is my story on how I was told that I was on the autistic spectrum. When I was diagnosed with autism, I had an early diagnosis. At that time, I couldn't really speak at all. I was non-verbal, and it was surprising how much far I've come over being a non-verbal to not stop talking for England. But it's amazing what has truly happened. But I don't actually remember being non-verbal, but all I remember, and this is something that my parents told me, all I can remember is them telling me that I used to communicate by copying some lines and some sentences from televisions and movies, such as Disney. And this is the thing that has made me feel confident. However, there was something that didn't really make me feel comfortable, and that reason being, why is that I am different? Why do I have to be in different settings? And I'll explain really, because I'm not really making much sense. So when I was at school, I used to have one-to-one support, and if there was a child who had an early diagnosis with autism, then there would have been a chance that at school, primary and secondary, they would have learning support lessons or one-to-one sessions. And these lessons have really been beneficial for me because they have helped me to understand why I was autistic. But I didn't really get it at first, because when I started primary school, when I was in reception, the learning support session started, and I had no clue why I was being separated from my class peers at times. But I can remember that I had to be dragged when I had to do things like spellings and math sums, and I really wanted to join my peers, but then I remembered that one of my assistants had to drag me all the way up to a little corner. And in a classroom, I always used to have that little corner where I can actually have like a little desk and a board to myself, but unfortunately every time I went into the corner, it was near the toilets, which isn't very nice really, and it is a little bit horrible really, and the smell used to really put me off a lot. And there were a couple of other times where I had to go to other rooms just to get my learning support lessons in the teachers' lounges. And then there was another time where I had to learn with another student on the autistic spectrum in a storage cupboard. And it's not like a really tiny cupboard, but I can remember it was just as big as a bedroom. But again, it was just like full of desks and just like lockers and cupboards and all that, which was not pleasant. And it did leave me questioning for a while, because I know that I needed a place just to be quiet so I could concentrate. But aside from like where I had to be, that wasn't really pleasant, and that's why I started questioning myself. Why was I here? I didn't really need to be here at all. And then if I was with peers at the other times, I always easily get distracted. And I always easily get distracted because I really want to know what's going on and how people are feeling. And I was just quite curious, really. I was a very curious child, but a lot of people really didn't appreciate my curiosity. I was often bullied at primary school, and I did feel very insecure about it. However, there were students who really included me and respected me, and some of them have become my best friends, and I still see to this very day. And that really taught me a lot about inclusion. They didn't really judge me for my autism, they just judged me for who I was, and I was really, really grateful for that. And if they knew I needed to play on my own, they were fine with that. And if they wanted to play with me, they were fine with that as well. But they always made sure that I was included within groups at playtime and in sessions as well. And even though this was really, really nice, it still left me a lot of questions. But while I was in primary school, I went to this little group session, and this group session would happen every weekend. And I can remember being in a group of a bunch of kids who I didn't really know, and they had like little group sessions and lessons, just like at school, but just a little bit different. And by a little bit different, I mean that they had activities, and they had like one-to-one conversations as well, and they had some lessons about life. And that was when I knew that I was on the autistic spectrum. I can't really remember if I was told very properly, but how I learned I was autistic was in one session where people can actually compare to others. So for example, some people are different because you can see people being in a wheelchair or having a different hair colour. And this session, or one of these sessions, was trying to teach me that everybody is different. And that was when I knew that I was different. But I really didn't... I don't know, I really didn't fully appreciate me being autistic. I really had to visualise rather than hear or just write it down, because I don't know why, but in my mind, for some reason, learning visually was the best thing for me. Thinking or listening to others at the time, no, that was a no-go point. But when I actually saw something, I kind of understood a little bit. So what I learned from myself is watching about other people, but also I have watched myself, really. I began to see my interests and hobbies. I've begun to see myself develop into some things. But I can always see my peers and my friends who are on the autistic spectrum and are not on the autistic spectrum. And I have made friends who were not and who were on the autistic spectrum. And that really taught me something. And by visualising that, I could see where the difference has come from. But it really wasn't until secondary school that I really began to accept my autism. And how that happened was when I was looking for secondary schools with my parents. My parents and I had really struggled to find the right school for me, because we had to find one school that would include me and who would have a very good learning support department to suit my needs. But some of them weren't a success. But there were a few times where I went to this one school, and this was a specialist school, and this specialist school was very different, and this was the only time I got to experience a specialist school. So what happened was I went to this specialist school once a week for 6 weeks, and during these 6 weeks I went to have lunch, I was playing like I would do in primary school, but I also was in lessons, and I found out that I was the only girl in the classroom. But it really taught me about how students on the autistic spectrum cope in a class environment, and I really did take something away from that, even though I didn't really go to the school, and it was a little bit of a far journey to go, so that's probably why I never got there. But when I went to my secondary school, I began to learn to accept my needs, and also I started to realise that autism was part of who I am, and there was something about it that I really quite liked. But unfortunately, I wasn't really interested in other other people who had autism. And I think when I was in secondary school, in my mind, I was still a child, and I just thought about like loads of different things, and to be honest, I had other things on my mind. But when I went to Chicken Shed and when I was an adult, I really started to grow and appreciate others on the autistic spectrum, and I really started to be braver and more confident about it, and most of the time I try to include my friends as much as I possibly can. And I have come a long way away since then. Since my parents were told that I was on the autistic spectrum, I never realised how much far that I would go, and they thought they didn't know how much I would go from that day when I was diagnosed all the way up to now. And to be honest, I feel really, really happy about myself. I never knew about what would happen next, but I guess I'm here now. Also, I forgot to mention that when I was younger, I used to have assessments, and these assessments would include my balance, and then also I had to have sessions where I used to go once every 6 weeks to have some of my lines on my hands tickled with a paintbrush. Now, this is something that I will talk about in another video for another day, because I'm not sure if anyone on the autistic spectrum realised that anything like that existed, so I may do another video on that next time. And also, when I was starting to know I was autistic, I never asked questions, and if you know me in real life, I never ask questions unless I'm really, really confident. And I don't really know why I don't ask questions sometimes, but I think honestly and truthfully, I just try to learn visually, and I just try to learn something without asking too many questions, because I just want to get out there and do things all by myself. But there will be times I will have to ask questions, which will be very, very hard, but I'm just going to probably have to see how we go from there. And in conclusion, I think that's by learning through this way over the years, I felt really comfortable, and I feel more than open and happier than ever. And I have learned like inclusion and all that stuff on top for the past few years, but it has really given me the confidence just to talk about it, just to accept things, and just to prove how much of a difference that people can make. And I think that's it. I really haven't got anything else to say, so I think I'm going to be drawing this video to a close. So I hope this video gave you a little bit of an insight in a female perspective on how to tell someone you have autism. But I think, I don't know, was it the right thing for me? Yes, I think it was, but it could be the sort of right thing for everybody. But if you have been in a similar experience like I am, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's get talking about it. I would really love to know your thoughts and opinions on this. So until then, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and all you have to do is to keep on dreaming and never stop believing, and also try and be honest with yourself. And this is something that I'm hoping just to share with you, to take away with you today. Never think of negative thoughts, always think of positive ones, because at the end of the day, you are going to be on a journey to success. I guarantee that. I really guarantee that. So have a wonderful day, guys, and I will see you very soon. Bye.